Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like if they're not in a spacesuit, don't go.
Now we're live.
Kind of.
Oh, excuse me. Hey guys, we are here for author chat. The other author chat that was supposed to be yesterday has been moved to tomorrow. We had some internet issues, so it sucks. At least we have power though. Oh my god, so many people don't have power, and I'm like, I'm in Florida. It's like 90 out. We would all die. There's just no, there's no ifs or ands or buts on that one. That would suck. But we are here today with the author of When Elephants Fly, which I was wrong. I did read this. I read this forever ago because I found my review.
Oh, awesome.
It was like, parts of it was like, hey, I remember parts of this. What's going on? It was just on my other account. I was like,
you read a lot of books.
You read a few books, Jessica.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, just a few.
Just a few.
You know.
Yeah.
Just a few. And of course,
I take 5 million years, but I actually remember them.
Right? Some of them I remember. Some of them I remember.
That's good.
It depends. It depends. You know, like.
Hey, I wish I could read as fast as you.
I'm going to be reading City of Bones here next week. That one I remember, but you know, this is like, what, the 6th time I've read it?
That helps.
Kind of doesn't count.
That book is hilarious. I love that book.
It's so good. But then, of course, we are here with Laurie Forest, the author of The Black Witch as well.
Hello.
So you guys know the drill. If you have any questions, toss them in the live comments. If for some reason YouTube is being mean and won't let you comment, you can tweet them or Instagram them out and I will find them. We actually have a few people that couldn't make the live show, so they actually sent me questions. So
awesome.
Nice.
That's good.
I have a bunch of questions for
Allie is here watching as always.
Oh, Allie's here?
Yes, Allie is here. We can like wave to Allie. Oh, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna like.
Hey, Allie.
All right. So of course, as always, you guys can introduce yourselves and thank you for coming back on the show. So excited.
Excited to be here.
Who would like to go first?
You go first, Laurie.
I'm Laurie. I wrote the Black Witch Chronicles, and it's nice to actually kind of socialize in some way. I'm out in the backwoods of Vermont, so this is nice to say hi.
You can converge with all the bugs you have out there.
We got a lot of bugs here, but you know, if you're ready for them, you know, ticks. We got a tick problem, but that's okay. We know what to do.
Well, and I'm Nancy, wrote When Elephants Fly and the Speed of Falling Objects, and it's really nice to socialize. So I'm really happy to be here. We also have a tick problem in Oregon, but we know how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So you just have to know how to deal.
I feel kind of like the odd person out because I'm like, man, did Ohio have a tick problem when I lived there?
Well, we have animals. Like we have a dog.
Oh, okay.
Laurie has cats.
Right.
You have a dog too, Laurie?
I do not. I just have cats. And this is kind of a good lead-in to talk about animals because we're going to be talking a lot about animals today with elephants. But, you know, I just came back from a long walk in the woods, and you would not believe the bear trails that I saw through berry bushes. I mean, there are bear trails everywhere. Woo! And we passed through an area of the woods. We were walking for about 2 hours, and then we came back, and there was a new bear trail set down. So I know that they're very shy, the black bears, but I know they were there after we were there, so that's interesting.
We have them too, and usually it's we'll see a sign, but then we'll come back and we'll see more bear scat, and that always makes me nervous that they were just where we were.
Do you have more than black bears out there?
I don't know if there are grizzlies anywhere in Oregon. There probably are some in Washington, and we used to live in Canada, and we had grizzlies very close by. We would see their nail marks on the trees, and those ones really scare me. I like bears from a distance. I'm not a big bear fan close up.
Yeah, I never see them. I saw them once. I saw a cub once crossing the street, but
a few weeks ago, I did a walk with our dog. My husband, our dog, we saw a mother bear with a juvenile, maybe 20 feet away in the woods, and our dog couldn't have cared less. He didn't bark. He did nothing. We were yelling, making noise, because that's what you need to do, make a lot of noise. And our dog just looked at us like, what are you guys doing? What's up?
Yeah. Black bears.
And they weren't hidden. They were really out in the open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We saw one forever ago, somewhere between here and Ohio on the highway. It was like up on like
Ooh.
one of the hills that the semis use, like if the brakes go out.
Mm-hmm.
It was up on one of those, and it's like you just see this black thing. It's like, what is that? Holy crap, that's a bear!
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're very shy, the black bears. People write to me all the time when I post about bears. They're like, "Be careful, Laurie! Don't get eaten before you finish your series."
Right?
Like,
Yeah, nobody, nope, not yet. Nope.
Like I can get eaten as well. Once I finish the series, I can get eaten.
Right, but not before.
Not before.
That's
No,
kind.
But,
no.
yeah, I feel that way a little too. So
We've talked about that before. Like, in your will, you must see, like, bequeath all your books to me so I can read the rest of them.
that's right.
Make sure they get published.
Yeah, but black bears are all we have in Vermont, and they're extremely shy. Yeah, they're very shy. There's never been a case, except for one time in Vermont, which I don't want to go into specifics, but it was someone that had shot a bear and then decided to approach it. But that's the only time a black bear has actually killed someone in Vermont. So, I mean, they're all over.
You don't have anything else, though? You guys just have black bears?
Just black bears. And they're completely different situation than grizzly. If you look at their skulls, it's kind of amazing. I'm a science geek. Well, I mean, look at them, I know
grizzlies are gigantic.
Yeah, if you look at their skulls, though, the masseter muscle, the attachment for that, the area in the skull is huge in the grizzly because they just clomp down on meat. Whereas the black bears, they eat mainly berries and insects. They have little tiny attachment to their masseter. They're like the bunny rabbits of bears.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to pet them.
Yeah, no.
No. If you see a cub, run.
Yeah.
Run. If you see a cub.
Exactly.
That's when you get. Yeah, no.
Remember, we were at my aunt's when she lived in Tennessee, and she lived like on this was her driveway. She lived up on the mountain, and we were getting ready to leave, and I was sitting in the car, and just all of a sudden, seeing a panther walk by.
Oh God!
It was going after chickens. Because I think I was like 9 or 10, and I'm in the car by myself at night, and I'm just on the horn.
That's scary.
And then I'm like, oh, wait a second, they're gonna come outside. No, don't lay on the horn. And they're like coming out, and I'm like, no, that's not. Oh no!
Oh, we just lost Laurie.
Oh, it's her internet.
There she is.
Hey, you came back and you're not pixelated anymore. Woohoo!
That's me. That's me. Oh well, it's Vermont. It's Vermont. It's backwoods of Vermont. What can I tell you? If I just suddenly disappear, that's what happened. You guys can talk without me.
Let's talk about you. Okay, so why did you want to write a book not only about mental illness, but also about the fight to save a baby elephant?
So 2 reasons. The first is that my first job out of college, I worked for Ringling Brothers, big circus, and the human performers were amazing and really talented, but they also had a lot of elephant performers and tiger performers, and they even had bears, I think, at that time. And it was really hard to see wild animals in captivity. And one day I was walking a journalist behind the scenes at an arena, and the elephants are chained by one leg, and there were 18 of them, and they were swaying. And what Ringling would always say to the journalist is the reason that they're swaying is because they love the music. But really they're swaying because they're these intelligent, amazing animals, and they're slowly going crazy because they're always confined. So when I actually took someone around and said that to a journalist, I quit. I gave my notice the next day because I just thought I can't be involved with this anymore. And I promised myself that at some point in my life, I would try and do something to help elephants specifically, because I related the most to them, but to try and keep them out of circuses and safaris, and to draw attention to the fact that in the next 20 years, elephants in the wild will be extinct. There's only 450,000 African elephants and less than 40,000 Asian elephants in the wild right now. So if something isn't done to change their habitats, curb killing elephants for ivory, there won't be any left, which is incredibly sad to me. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason I wrote When Elephants Fly is because I have a friend whose mom has a mental health condition. She has the bipolar condition with kind of a schizophrenic affect to it. And that meant that my friend had 10% chance of also having a potential mental health condition. And she's really inspirational because despite that, and 10% doesn't seem like a lot when we're talking, right? It's like what you'd give someone for a tip. And that means you have 90% chance of being fine. But 10% is huge when you're a kid and you face having your life derailed. And so my friend could have done nothing and kind of been frozen in the moment and tried to just live a very careful, stress-free life. But instead, she went to college. She is a concert pianist. She married. She had a daughter. She's doing great. And I just thought about the fact that we all have stuff hanging over our heads. Some of us, it's not as serious as a potential mental health condition, but things stall us in our lives, and we can let them stall us, or we can find something that's more important than we are and use that to make your life worthwhile and to live in the moment. So those are the two main reasons I wrote that story.
Well, I think you did such a good job, like with your research and everything that you did for it, because like, especially like in the beginning of it, when she's talking about like how her mom was on medication. My mom growing up, before she was handicapped, she was on a whole bunch of stuff for being manic depressant. And I mean, her being on the medication was worse than her being off of it, because, I was doing laundry and everything in the house because she would just come home from work and it would just be complete crash. She wasn't really ever there. So you did a really, really good job with all of the research and stuff that you did. So like, how much research did you have to do for the
I did a ton of research because it's super important, right, to treat mental health conditions really carefully and to do your best to portray what that might be like. So, I mean, I talked to psychologists and psychiatrists. I read personal accounts. I have a family member that suffers from the mental health condition schizophrenia. So, I am aware of what that's like and how it can derail not only a person, but a family. Right. And then there's just so many videos and TED Talks and really inspirational information online that you can see not only how people's lives are derailed, but also how there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of, if you have a supportive family and a network, how that can help you kind of get back on the right track. There's no mental health situation that is without hope. And I found that so fascinating. I also found it really fascinating that a third of the people who are homeless have serious mental health conditions. And it kind of changed sometimes when you are in a situation where there's homeless people, you might not be as sensitive to their plight because sometimes it can be really scary, right? But after writing that story, I mean, I don't think I was not sensitive before, but after I look at everyone and I think that could be Lily, my main character, if she didn't have a father who was involved and a best friend who helped take care of her and someone who, was in love with her. So it kind of changes your perspective on mental health conditions, and you just see the child and all the people who didn't have a safety net.
Right. It's so hard.
Yeah. I mean, how did it affect you growing up with a mom who had, a condition?
There was good days and bad days. Like, there was days where, she would blow up at like the tiniest, littlest thing. And then there was days where, if anything happened to like friends or something, she'd give the shirt off her back. So it's like growing up, you never knew like what kind of day it was going to be. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as this, because she doesn't have schizophrenia or anything. She never tried to murder me. So
that's a very good thing. Yes.
She paid bills, dealt with, everyday life and everything like that. It was just more like mood based. So, I mean, even now, it actually kind of got better after she went off. I think it was Effexor or something that she was on. And it kind of got better over the years, actually. I think she just learned to cope with it better.
Right.
But, like, even now, I mean, she'll have good days and bad days, but it's nothing near what it was, when I, 20 years ago. God, I feel so old now.
But that's awesome. It probably made you a much more empathetic person too.
Oh yeah. And it's just like, knowing other people that have bipolar disorders and stuff like that, you just kind of learn how to work around them and, help them a little bit more than you would have, because you understand what's going on. So it definitely works out a lot better.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's see. Okay, so one of the writing questions that they messaged me, I forgot to write down their name, so I'm very sorry whoever's question it belongs to. I haven't gotten around to reading this one, but I love Speed of Falling Objects. Does When Elephants Fly have romance in it? Oh, I think I know who that is. There's one girl. Anytime I share a book online, she constantly asks me if there's romance in it.
Yes, there is definitely romance in When Elephants Fly. And it's not something that helps my character necessarily fulfill the role she wants to play, but knowing that she has someone in her corner is super helpful. It gives her another reason to fight for something that's so important in her life. But yes, I think Otis, who's her love interest, he is one of the members of the Walker family who owned the circus that claimed Swifty the elephant. He's the good member of the family who decides to help Lily go on this desperate road trip to save Swifty's life. So there's definitely a good amount of romance.
The elephant's a great character in this book. The elephant's well drawn, and I think that's difficult to do because animals don't have dialogue. So I think having a really good animal character, it's tricky.
Thanks, Laurie. Well, I will say that the animals that I write about are so much easier for me than the people. For some reason. But elephants are so much easier just because they're so smart. They're incredibly kind, caring, intellectual beings. I mean, they cry when they feel despair. Elephants will revisit the bones of their family members year after year. They will return to the place where a family member died, revisit the bones, sometimes cry. They're unbelievable, and they're very family oriented. They're led by a matriarch. The males in an elephant herd actually, once they're no longer juveniles, they really go off and live by themselves, or maybe with one other male elephant, and they only come around when it's kind of mating season. And the women all stay together, which I love that. So even as the female elephants grow up, they stay within one herd. They help each other when one is pregnant. They actually help in the process. They're all midwives and help another elephant be born. They protect baby elephants all together as a herd. They're amazing. So they're fun to write about. And I'm glad that you like that character, because I feel like Swifty's a huge character in the story.
Oh yeah. And I have a question. Have you had an opportunity to be around elephants in a non-circus environment?
I have. I haven't gone to Africa and done safari or anything yet, although I support a bunch of different elephant sanctuaries. And one of my favorite is Reteti. And my hope is to eventually go and visit. But I have spent time with the head veterinarian at the Portland Zoo. So I did get to spend some time with the elephants there. I'm torn, right, about elephants being in a zoo. I think a lot of zoos are well-meaning and they have great habitats for elephants. But elephants can walk up to, I think, like 40 or 50 miles in a day. It helps with their circulation. Their circulation is actually in their feet. That's what pumps their blood. So it's really hard to see, even when the elephants are in a relatively happy environment. And I think the Portland Zoo does as good a job as they can. It's still kind of sad, but I have gone and, pet the elephants and fed them carrots and done all that stuff. But I would really like to go to Reteti, which is north of Kenya. It is a community-based elephant sanctuary. And the amazing thing about it is that they are training women to be the elephant keepers. And normally in that area of Africa and that society, the women really didn't work. They had no power in the family. And now they're the wage earners in their family. They're learning how to care for these elephants. It's changing the whole dynamic of the community, which is something else I want to support. And their goal is actually to take orphaned elephant calves, they get them well, and then they return them to a herd. And so and the herd welcomes them back in.
Wow.
So it's really, really
That's
cool.
great.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I have another question. I see your amazing garden posts and your recipe posts, and I was wondering if your experience at the circus inspired you to become a vegetarian.
It didn't. So my mom, I'm sorry, mom is a horrible cook, horrible. And she only broils things, meat specifically. So growing up, I'd come home from my diving practice, and I would hear the snap, snap, snap of meat under the broiler and smell it. And I hated meat. Like ever since I was a kid, I hated meat. So the minute I left for college, I was done with meat. I will say, as I get older, my husband eats meat. I cook meat for him, but I always make sure that it's meat from some sort of environmentally conscious, free range. I think if you eat something that goes crazy before it dies, it can't be good for you.
Yeah.
So I never tell people don't eat meat, don't, eat eggs or whatever. Just get the kind that isn't crazy before, or tortured before it dies. So, yeah.
I never understood people that don't eat eggs because chickens lay eggs regardless. It doesn't hurt them.
Here's the thing. I eat egg whites, but they're unfertilized. There's the difference. So there's no rooster.
Uh-huh.
So it would never be a being. It's just It's just an egg. So.
I mean, the hardest thing about, because I don't really eat eggs anymore because I had because the egg is basically you're eating the chicken's period, and I was like that's just disgusting.
It's gross. That's why I eat the white only.
And it's like, and of course that always pops in my head when I'm getting ready to eat an egg or something, and I'm like, nope, I can't eat it anymore. Can't eat it.
I can understand that. I don't want to think about it too much, but I can understand.
Right? It's like,
When you were at the circus, were there baby elephants there?
They brought one baby elephant in. His name was King Tusk was the largest traveling land mammal on the face of the earth. I wrote that so many times that obviously it's stuck in my head. And they brought in a baby elephant. His name was Prince Tusk. And it was really sad. The elephants need their moms. They need their moms for up to 2 years. They are still feeding, they need their mother's milk. So I just remember how little he was and how sad it was. He cried a lot. So yeah, it was terribly, terribly sad. And I'm so glad that Ringling Brothers no longer exists.
Yeah, they closed down.
And now it's more just the roadside, the small circuses. There's a little town in France that we go to now and then and visit, and because my family is from France, and there's a traveling circus that always comes through, and they have a lion and a tiger, and they're just in these just horrible cages, and they never get out and they never do anything. And if anybody tells you that those animals, wild animals, that they want to jump through a hoop or they want to spin, I mean, it's bad for the elephants to stand on their back legs. It's not a normal thing that they would ever do. It's bad for their body. For tigers, wild animals run from fire. So if you see a wild animal going through a hoop of fire, leaping through it, the trainer, they like to be called trainers, but I would call them tamers, which they hate. They don't do great things in order to make that animal go against its instinct. So I would say if you can possibly never go to one of those again and give them your money, that would be a great thing.
We have a great circus that everybody's kind of into here up in this area in Montreal, Cirque du Soleil. There's no animals.
Fantastic.
There's no animals.
No, and they're so talented.
Yeah, it's internationally, renowned. The acrobats and everything. And kids love a circus, but kids would love people dressed up like animals just as much as they would love
exactly
wild animals.
Exactly.
And then you don't have to be like SeaWorld and watch somebody get eaten.
That's true too.
Because people don't generally eat other people.
Yes.
See, we have a writing question. What was your favorite scene to write?
Well, I don't want to give anything away. Probably the last scene, because it's pretty complex, and it leaves it up to the reader in a way to figure out what they want to happen. So probably the last scene. I always like doing the opening scenes too, because I want to create a hook and get people to read, and so I like doing that as well. But I think the ending, because I knew where I was going with it, and it's really fun to get to that point. Like Laurie, I mean, it's the best. That last chapter, it's like all your hard work, and then you knew where you wanted to go, and you actually get to say I got there, which is super cool.
We know Laurie's favorite scene.
What's my favorite scene?
I was going to say it's all the smut in
I was going to say anything swoony.
All that chapter.
Well, yeah, but yeah. Well, okay, yes. The Shadow Wand. I will own that. The ceiling scene with Lucas, absolutely favorite scene to write. A lot of fun. Lot of readers enjoying editing that one. Yeah.
Laurie, do you love your last chapter? How do you feel about when you get there?
Well, I agree. Like incredibly relieved.
That too.
Yeah, I thought your ending was very powerful. I didn't expect it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd go there, and yeah, it's powerful. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say more because it's complicated.
Yes. Yes. For sure.
The next question is, what's next for you?
Interesting question.
Well, let's see. I have an adult novel that's with my agent right now. So I guess that would be the next thing. Hopefully she loves it and wants to sell it. I have another one that's written as well. So I guess adult novels right now are what's next for me. I have 2 done, and I am considering, Laurie and I were talking about this, I'm considering taking When Elephants Fly and writing a related adult novel, because there are a lot of questions at the end of When Elephants Fly. And I kind of feel like, as you write YA, your reader grows up with you, and I'd like to answer some of those questions, but also tell a completely new story as well. So I would bring back Lily, and I'd bring back Otis, and I'd bring back maybe Swifty, if Swifty's alive, and a few other characters, and kind of look. I might even bring, Swift Jones into it, who's a pop singer who Swifty the elephant was named after. So I'm kind of just starting to think maybe that would be fun.
That would be awesome. I know a few other authors that have done that, where their main core duology was YA, and then the next 2 books were new adult, because they were 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, so I mean, writing the swoony stuff is really fun, but you definitely have to limit yourself a little bit more when you're writing YA. So I think it would be pretty fun to be able to kind of take that break off and have a little more fun with that as well, and also just delve into some more complex issues with these characters and what has happened in their lives. So I'm considering it's something I think that Laurie should consider doing with some of her characters as well, that people just absolutely love and probably want to know 20 years from now what's happened.
Yeah,
Laurie?
I don't know if an adult novel. I've been told I have a young voice, so I think that's immature. I don't know.
Well, I mean, nowadays with YA, I mean, you got Sarah J. Maas, and all the stuff that she puts in her stuff, and it's still considered YA. And I mean, unless you're getting in depth into sex scenes or something, that it somehow could just completely turn ridiculous. But
which one?
What?
What did you just say? Which book?
Oh, I said that a lot of the adult novels. I was reading one, and there was no sex, and then just all of a sudden there is, and just describe stuff. It's just it's weird. It's
it has to have a context. It has to make sense, but it's not just to write that kind of stuff. I just think it's really interesting. We're catching our characters at this moment in time where everything is super fresh and new. and every experience is new. And it would be really interesting to visit them later when they have some more experience under their belt.
They're in like their 30s or something.
Yeah, and see what their perceptions are of life and their own experiences and what they want now versus what they wanted then. And you know, with Lily and When Elephants Fly, it's like she finds something to fight for that's bigger than her, and that allows her to have a sense of meaning in her life. Well, what happens if she does have a mental health condition? What happens to her? Can she maintain? Is that enough for her? Can she kind of pull herself out of whatever bad situation she's in? Does that require other people? Is it possible? I'm just kind of interested to find out, because I don't really know yet.
That sounds so interesting, though, because I mean, you know, she's just now 18, and then if you shoot it to like the end of that gap of where she could have this, you know, mental issue problem, and put her like right on the cusp of it, and then see what happens. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like too, this is a condition that's such a difficult one for people to have, and anything that increases compassion about schizophrenia, when it can on the outside be very confusing and scary to people. And like you said, try and remember that these are, you know, these people, they're dealing with a medical problem.
Yes, exactly.
The same as if we're dealing with a heart condition or something. And, you know.
Exactly. And it's hard for people to understand that because they're scared, and because it's an erratic type situation. You know, if someone has cancer or a heart condition, it's like there's a diagnosis, you know what it is, there's a treatment or not a treatment. Or with mental health conditions, it's more getting the right drugs, but then as your body chemistry changes, those drugs change, and you're going to go through up and down periods, and also the drugs are really difficult as a young person to be on some of those drugs. It's a really hard thing. To be off them doesn't work, to be on them doesn't work, you know, so and
it's all that beginning period of, you know, which drugs you need to be put on and what dosage. I knew somebody that had gone through like a whole bunch of different stuff, and it's like they finally found the right dosage and the right combination of meds. But like when they first started her out, I mean, she was on everything from lithium to a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's like you never knew what you were going to get. She could be a zombie one day, or she could be bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, and that's it's hard for their family, it's hard for their friends, and it's certainly, if they're a stranger, it's very hard to try and understand that or want to be around it. So
our next writing question is, when are you and Laurie going to write a book together?
I don't know. I think Nat doesn't have such a young voice.
I would love to do something with Laurie, of course. I think maybe something in our future would be like a bunch of short stories together or something. I don't know. I would love to do something together.
You guys could make some kind of epic fantasy thing, because I mean, you've got all the contemporary YA, and she's got all the fantasy knowledge.
Like an urban fantasy, Laurie.
You guys could do something really
where we don't have to make up the names of every race and every like I always tell Laurie, I think what she does is so difficult because, you know, a glass is a glass in my world. A soda is a soda. A table is a table, you know. And in Laurie's world, everything has a different name, and even like everything is a different race, different characters, different magic, different laws of nature. Like it overwhelms me what she does and how good she is at doing it, because that would be so hard.
I don't know. Tables are just tables in your world, aren't they, Laurie?
Yeah, but
nothing like integral.
You know what I mean?
I know what she means.
There's a book out that's about mermaids, and I tried to love it so much, but like everything was a different name, like everything under the sun, and it's like off the wall names. It's not.
I love that. I love that.
See, Laurie would love that, and I have to, when I'm reading her stuff, I have to write down.
I love that. I love my fantasy like that.
What is it? I think it's called the Deep Blue, or something like that.
I probably love it.
You would love it. I would have to write down notes in order to keep everything straight.
I was like 2 chapters in, I had to start all over again because I'm like, what is this? Oh, it's water. Oh, okay. SWAT around them. I'm like,
it's just there's so many laws to
crazy.
each creature, to like every race in your books. There's so many different laws, and I would need it's hard. It's amazing. I couldn't do it if we did an urban fantasy where there was fantasy and magic in like Oregon.
Like the magical realism. That would be cool.
Maybe easier for me.
Do that.
You never know.
See, this question is for Laurie. I just finished the Shadow Wand right before this show. Woo! I'm dying and crying and happy all at the same time. I can't wait for the demon tide. Oh, I guess it wasn't a question.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I get the pressure's on. The love triangle is killing me right now for that book.
I told you how to fix that.
We'll get there.
You're getting close, I think.
We'll see. Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, the emotions are complicated.
They always are, but that makes the book really good. You know, if I'm not crying like halfway through this book, you have failed.
Okay,
no pressure.
Make Jessica cry. I remember that. Make Jessica cry.
Yes, make Jessica cry. Horrible tears. You know, I did that with Sorcery of Thorns for my book club, and I'm like, I had to put the book down because I couldn't read anymore because I'm just crying so bad.
I love that book.
It was so good.
I love anything that author writes.
Yeah.
The two books.
Yeah. And
which one?
Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, maybe?
An amazing one before that. I like even better. The Crow one.
I have to look it up.
Enchantment of Ravens.
But and they're all standalones. It makes me so sad because like both of them, that could be series, like at the drop of a hat, but none of them are. It makes me so sad.
Well, maybe she'll go back if people want them enough, you know.
I hope.
Turn them into series.
There's one book out that was out forever ago that I keep bugging the author and the publication. I think it's Simon and Schuster, I don't remember. But I was like, I need a follow-up to this one, and that is Shifting from Bethany Wiggins. That book, if you want a good cry, by the end of that book, the whole last chapter, the whole section of last chapters, you are going to bawl your eyes out. If you don't, you don't have a soul.
I don't often cry books. Like some.
Yeah, I don't either.
That book. If you can't find a copy, I will allow you to borrow mine. Just don't forget to send it back, okay? Because
so I have a writing question for Laurie because that brings up a good point. So you've written this series. There's 2 more books after this?
Yep. Well, no, one more for Demon Tide.
Like so 4 million.
Would you want to write another series, or would you want to write some standalone?
It's so hard to think outside of this. I'm so into this story, really into the story. But I've always wanted to write something that's based on the tarot, because it's just got so much there. There's so much there.
You should just make an anthology of that and just pick out a whole bunch of authors, and then we'll just divvy up all the cards for all the authors.
Yeah,
it'd be fun. Be fun.
I have my list.
Would that be a standalone?
I don't know. I think I'd like to play with something after I'm done with this. I have a few books I've started, but I'm kind of pulling elements of those books into this series. So
right.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see.
She's going to turn into Cassandra Clare and just have spin-offs of spin-offs, and it's just never going to end, you know?
Well, there are books I'd like to write based on this series. I mean, I don't know what people have the patience for, but all these side characters. Like right now I'm into this new character, Morley, who's a smart golfer elf, and Jan Hawken, who's kind of a little tiny side character. He's a professor in the Black Witch. And I just really like their love story. So I'd like to write about them, but I don't know. I have lots of little.
Somebody commented pray yes, another series.
Yeah, I have a lot of yeah, a lot of spin-off ideas. I'm very into Tristan's character right now. It's interesting what you said about, I don't know, crying when reading books. I read a great quote once. It said, "No tears in the author, no tears in the reader." Like, you need to actually be touched by what you're writing. And there's a few scenes in The Demon Tide that I tear up every time I read them over again. So I feel like that's a good thing, because the Shadow One, there's a few scenes that I teared up consistently when I was reading them, and I was like, okay, that's actually good that this scene is making me miserable.
It's like, you know, if you ever need to know, if any of you guys ever need to know if something is teary enough, just send me, that part, and I will read it and let you know.
I'll take you up on it.
Do emojis of like,
well, that's my new goal, to make Jessica miserable with my next book.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my new goal too.
So those are like the best books,
Yes.
I mean, in the other one, in the Sorcerer of Thorns, you're crying, and it's a good cry, because good things are happening, but you're still crying, and it's like it's good though. It makes the best books,
Yeah,
it's the best books. See, another question for Laurie: will we get to see any characters from the novellas?
Oh yes, yeah, you will. You will see Sage Ellen. You will see Raven. You will see Thane. Oh gosh, you will see Renfear, who is Elrond's uncle. I'm probably giving too much away right now. Why do I give spoilers away on your shows, Jessica? I'm gonna be quiet right now. You didn't hear any of that.
Still love how you rewrote the beginning of The Demon Tide, because that I'm not going to say anything about it, but it will give you guys chills. Like, seriously, you will have chills. It was
you helped me on that with your blunt comments.
So good.
And too, obviously, you guys have really helped me with you. I needed that. I need that from friends. That kind of you need to rework this whole thing.
Because
so that's okay. It's easy to have the series get completely out of control. So I had to slow down and learn about plotting and read some things, because I do not have a writing background. So
which is amazing, Laurie.
Yeah,
it really is.
I just need to find that time machine and just hop into the future, grab a finished copy, and bring it back, and yo, I sent you something.
Yeah, I really want that.
It wasn't like 2 seconds.
I want to just read it. Hand it to me so I can read it and find out what happened.
That would be
wouldn't that be nice?
Now the question though would be how would your editor do this? Because it's if you just sent that in word for word, how in the future it would just originally be published. Yo, this doesn't need edited. How did you do this?
I have people keep writing to me about the love triangle. I do not know what's going to happen. So it'll be a surprise to all of us, actually.
I can't wait.
Yeah, lots of pressure with that one going.
So we have another question for Nan. It's been a while since I read this book. I can't read. My brain just went kaput. When elephants fly. My goodness. She cannot remember, but does Lily ever go see her mom in jail?
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but she knows early on, she shares with Otis what happened to her mom. There was not a chance for a visit. So, there wasn't a chance for a visit. That time had passed. So, yeah.
Let's see. We have some other writing questions over here. See, it says, for the Shadow One, my favorite scene was when Elrond punched Fallon. Yes.
That was satisfying to write.
Let's see. I would love to have a scene where I'm going to butcher everybody's name, just so you know. I'm just going to toss this one on screen because I can't read, apparently. Can you guys read?
I have to look.
Yeah.
Aslan is how I rips you know who head off. Did you see that, Laurie?
Yeah.
A scene. Yeah.
See, you could do the kids of your old characters, Laurie, and add in some new ones. We'll get to see the old characters and watch the new ones grow up. That's what I was thinking. You know,
there's some cool
if you wanted to go on and everybody else is, older, you could, instead of writing an adult book, you could do it from the kids' point of view. So then we still get updates of everybody else. but then it's still set for the teen audience.
But, let me finish this first in a way that
Right.
people don't show up with pitchforks based on whether she wants to love
Right?
triangle.
It's like, okay, slow down. I still got 3 books to get through. See, if you and Laurie were to do a book together, you could write a story where a boy-girl tarot card reading where it says they die and they become a vampire. Well, vampires are back.
I like vampires.
I keep trying to get Nan to write a vampire book. I think she'd write a really good one, an adult one.
I do like vampires, but who can do it better than Anne Rice?
That's true.
Sure. I mean,
You could do like an activist vampire book, like she goes.
they only feed off people who are cruel to animals.
Yeah, she goes to the circus and sees like all the bad things that are happening. So she takes out the trainers.
It's like Dexter. He only kills the people who are really bad people, even though he's a serial killer. Right.
There's another book out called Dear Killer, and it's about a serial killer that she's a teenager. The whole book was amazing. The ending sucks. Make up a new ending. My ending, like they run off together, but it's so good. Like because this girl's killing people, but it's like you root for her by the end of this, and it was so good.
That's similar to Dexter.
It was so good. Can we please get a novella for Yvonne and Tristan? I would love to know how Yvonne met Naga. Also, I love reading more scenes of Tristan and Bull.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that.
And Milani says, hey. It's like everybody's here. All right, and that looks to be all of the questions. So, Nan, can you tell us anything about your adult books that you have hopefully coming out soon?
Well, the one, it's tentatively entitled Little Bird. It had a different title that Laurie and I both loved, but it is about a young woman who is a psychic medium who is about to kind of blow up, fame-wise.
Okay, I was like,
not actually blow up, but and about a journalist who is determined to prove she's a fraud, and eventually the two end up working together to solve a central mystery in this young woman's life.
Oh, cool. So does it have like all the paranormal aspects and stuff to it, or?
What did you say, Laurie?
There's romance. It's a great romantic setup.
There's a lot of romance, and it's adult, so I get to actually write some more detailed romantic scenes. And yeah, there's a central mystery about who she really is, and romance ensues as they figure out who she ultimately is and whether her abilities are real.
So is that the only paranormal aspect in it, or do we get to see like ghosties or anything else?
You definitely get to see connections to the other side.
Ooh,
yes.
That's up my alley.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of connections to the other side. So that is the main one that's in the works right now.
Sounds good.
It's a great romantic setup because, it's so good. This psychic and somebody who's out to debunk the psychic. It's just, I know, it's great tension.
It's like that enemies to lovers.
What?
The enemies to lovers trope. My favorite trope.
But also getting to learn about just the whole, like the psychic community and what that's about.
And what they do, and it was really interesting actually watching a whole bunch of psychics on TV and reading about psychics and the people that people think are real versus not real, and kind of questioning what I believe myself and what I want to write about. It was a super fun story to write, and I'm not like selling it as I'm talking about it because I really haven't talked about it very much, except with a few people like Laurie, who is one of my readers, which I very much appreciate, and that kind of makes me dig deeper. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I just have no idea what's going to happen with it at this point.
Excited.
I can't say anything, but
What, Laurie?
She's got another one that's one of the best books I've ever read, but that's all I can say about it. Because
Thanks,
I'm not
Laurie.
kidding. No, really, it's so good. I love the psychic one as well. I love that book. But there's another one that is just, it's not good.
Thank you. Well,
So
I
the
hope
other one-
someone wants both of them. So
Is the other one paranormal as well, or not so much?
no. Well, a little bit. It's a little bit, but I can't say more. That would ruin it.
Love all the paranormal stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Excited.
I do. I like that stuff as well.
Love it. I love it when it's done right.
Yeah.
Well,
These are done right.
I like to believe too, you know. I'm someone who likes to believe that there's something else out there and, you know, that some of this stuff is real.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of my background. I've been pagan for over 20 years, and we've always had ghosts in our house, so it's nothing new.
I'd love a ghost in our house. That would be cool.
Depends on what kind of ghost it is, because there was one in here that I ended up having to bar from the house because anytime you would get up to like go to the bathroom or something in the middle of the night, and I don't usually turn lights on or anything, you would feel it, and it would just be like creeping up behind you. It wouldn't touch you or anything, but you could know that it was there. And I got tired of it. It's like, no, we're not doing this. Nope.
Oh,
I don't have time for this. I'm going back to bed.
I've never lived in an old house with a lot of history, but I think that would be really cool.
You don't really have to have an old house with a lot of history. It's usually the grounds a lot of the times. And for us, we just tend to always have them. I have never lived in a house that didn't have ghosts. So
I love that.
So, I mean,
I think you've got some stories to tell.
You see them running like down the hallways out of the corner of your eyes. There's a little girl in this house, and she's about, I'd say maybe about Anna Reese's age. And there's a black cat that always follows us, and then that other one. And then I think my oldest daughter said that she saw a guy in this house a couple months back, but they don't tend to bother anybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Laurie, do you have any ghosts?
I don't know. I mean, when we moved into the house we're in, this house has been here. It's one of the oldest houses in this area of Vermont. And I forget the year. Oh gosh, we found magazines from, oh gosh, early 1900s.
Oh wow.
Up in the attic, and apparently the woman who lived here at one point, because the family came, because they wanted to see the house, because somebody died in that family, and they wanted to just be back in their house again. They told me the history of the family. One of the first, actually the first female physician of Vermont, they said, or one of the first, lived in this house.
Huh.
And so when I first moved in, I'm unpacking, and it's summer, and it's quiet, and everybody was gone. I don't know why. I'm alone upstairs, and there's the windows closed, and I have never believed in ghosts or anything. And I found her picture. There's this black and white picture of a person in Victorian garb. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I hung it up. And I had the weirdest sense of like a benevolent presence. And the picture fell off the wall. There was no wind or anything. And I got this sense of like, I like you, but I don't want the picture up. And
Right.
I don't believe in this stuff, but it was so weird. But then I found out she had died in that room.
Wow.
But
You're
she was
invading her privacy.
She was known when she lived as being this incredibly kind woman. She was one of the first physicians in Vermont, and she was mostly a midwife. And she never married. She never had children. But I'll tell you one other story. I did not relate to Nan's book. I never believed in psychics, and I had a friend in post-college who was really into psychics, and she wanted to bring me to a psychic fair. And I went just to kind of laugh at it. And to just debunk it. So I sat down with a psychic, and it wasn't that much money I paid. And I literally, it was obnoxious, but I literally was going to sit there and not give her any clues. Because I had read up on it, and I realized how, I think there are definitely false psychics out there. I wasn't going to give her anything to, any questions.
Right.
And so, she's trying to talk to me, and I'm giving her a hard time. And then out of the blue, she just stops. And she tells me you've got a family member who is at a crossroads in their life. They're in a lot of trouble. You're going to go home. You're going to call them immediately. They are in such trouble right now. If they don't choose the right path, they are going to their life is going to go completely off the rails. They're in so much danger. And she told me, I don't want to let people in. She told me who the family member was, not the name, but who they were, and their sex, everything. She told me all about them. And I was like, okay, well, this family member doesn't have any problems. Okay, fine. It was a little chilling. But anyway, I went home that night and I told the family member, I said, you're never going to believe this. I went to a psychic and it was, it's ridiculous. But she was talking the whole time. She wasn't talking about me. Like, you're supposed to tell you, oh, you're going to marry somebody. Right. She's talking about you the whole time. And they're like, well, the person was like, what'd she say? I was like, you're in incredible danger. You're going to choose one path or another. And you are at a crossroad that is extremely dangerous. There's a dark road before you. You have got to make the right choice. And that family member told me that they were having a major drug problem that I didn't realize, and that it was completely spiraled out of control, and they were really flirting with either going in that direction and as a result of that person got some help. And
wow,
I don't know if there was anything to it, but after that, like, I was like,
you got to be open to the possibility. Just the possibility.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I mean, it was weird though, I tell you.
It's
That's
crazy.
Pretty cool.
Growing up, I mean, my mom had a dream that her father died, like right before he died. And he was not a very nice person. No, this was after he died, excuse me. She had a nightmare that he was standing at the end of her bed and he grabbed her ankle and stated that if you thought you got rid of me, you're dead wrong. And when she woke up, she had a bruise around her ankle. He was not a very nice person. But yeah, that's like the darker side of all this. But our family, we've had it's called what's clairsentience, clairaudience, and there's another one, clairsentience. It's touching, hearing, and seeing things that aren't like available to like the general public. So like I try not to get used furniture because it doesn't work out all that well. Yeah, we were in Goodwill years ago and I sat down in a office chair and I looked down and my whole entire shirt's covered in blood. And I'm kind of freaking out because I'm in my teens, and we find out that it had been completely reupholstered and everything because the person it belonged to, her husband, was shot at work. It was yeah. And just little things like that have always popped up in my life growing up. We had a car that every time I sat in the front seat, I got a headache. We found out that a deer had come through the front window and almost killed the woman that was in the passenger seat. And they had to clean all that up, of course. It was crazy.
Okay, well, I'm sending you an arc of my book if it ever gets purchased.
So, I don't have any clairvoyance. I'm glad I don't have anything.
Questions, witchy questions, send them my way. I shall help you.
Okay, for sure.
I don't want to know anything that's going to happen before it happens. I'm like, although, you know what? I would have liked a heads up on COVID. I would have liked a heads up on
that would
COVID.
be nice.
That would have been nice. You know, I keep, there's an ad or something that keeps popping up on Facebook. I guess this guy has predicted every single president that would be elected since like the 80s.
Oh, I saw that.
Wrong. Who's he predicting? I don't know. I didn't read
I actually listened to it, but he's predicting only by like 1 point and basically saying COVID and all these other things that are going on right now in the world could affect it. So he's hedging.
He didn't actually.
Yeah, he did, but he's hedging.
All right.
For sure. So, yeah. I know.
Crazy.
Oh, gosh.
Right. It's gonna be insane regardless of who wins at this point. So yeah, it's just bad all the way around.
Let's just say be kind, everyone.
Right?
Just be kind.
It costs nothing to be kind.
Exactly. That's our message.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much for coming back
Thank
on.
you.
We talk forever.
It's super fun. Thank you guys both. That was really.
Yeah, nice to see you guys. So
I know.
Yeah.
We need to do more video chat. So, yeah.
Everybody hang in there. These are interesting times.
Yes, exactly. Everyone
Guys,
be kind and hang in.
Next week, tomorrow, we will have the author of Coop Knows the Scoop with Anna Reese as your host. She is
cool.
back.
I want to see her. I
Yeah,
have to tune in at some point. I want to see her do
yeah.
something.
I think it's
Awesome.
tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I'm going to say 6 o'clock.
Okay, I'll try and send some questions.
And then we also have, can't get to the books, but we also have, I know I'm gonna butcher this woman's name. I think it's Carolyn Link. She wrote the Sanctuary series. All 3 books are out. I have the entire series. I'm excited to finish it. It is like the best sci-fi ever. So definitely check that one out. She will be on the 13th of this month for next week, and then Vicky something. Sinners. It's see, I usually have all this written down, and I'm just like horrible.
That's okay. We're chill today. It's all right.
It's bad. Vicky Skinner will be on the 14th for her book All Our Worst Ideas, which I really love that cover. It's so pretty. It's like this bright yellow, and it's got a girl in like a jean jacket. She's got flowers in her hands. It's so cute.
Aww.
You guys can tune in for that next week. Woo!
Sounds good.
All right. Stay away from those panthers.